Welcome to Red and Blue. I'm Nicole Killian in Washington. Thanks for joining us. Lawmakers are facing renewed calls for police reform following the death of Tyre Nichols. A sixth Memphis police officer was suspended today. 5 former officers are facing murder charges. Police reform talks between Democratic Senator Cory Booker and Republican Senator Tim Scott broke down after months of negotiations in the fall of 2021. No meetings are currently scheduled between the two to discuss. Booker, however, is expected to introduce police reform legislation in the next couple of weeks, according to an individual familiar with his plans. For more on this now, I want to turn to Scott MacFarlane, my colleague on Capitol Hill, and Ed O'Keefe, who is our senior White House and political correspondent. Ed, so good to see you. I know you just spoke with President Biden. Let's play a little bit of that exchange, and we'll talk to you on the other side.
Do you have any plans to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus on police reform? They're asking for a meeting.
Oh, yeah, no, of course I will. Of course, I haven't set the time
Do you
yet.
still think George Floyd Act is the most reasonable legislation to get through a divided Congress?
I think we should do it right now.
All right, Ed, so you had that exchange with the president on police reform. What is his engagement going to be on this issue?
We'd been hearing during the day today that there might be more to say on this, and so we just took it straight to the boss. And as you saw there, he generally committed to meeting with them about this issue. Whether a meeting is actually scheduled yet, we haven't heard. But remember, this is an issue he has been talking about since he was a candidate, and certainly as president, backed the bipartisan talks that went on and supported the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, saying, as you saw there again today, that they should take it up and pass it as originally written. Whether or not that can happen in a divided Congress, which is why I asked, is that the most reasonable piece of legislation that could get through right now, remains to be seen. But undoubtedly, this is an issue that he will focus on and try to raise in the coming days when he meets with Speaker McCarthy, perhaps, also at the State of the Union next Tuesday night when he lays out his agenda for the coming year. We should also point out, Nicole, that there are now plans to send at least 4 administration officials to the funeral for Tyre Nichols on Wednesday in Memphis. Keisha Lance Bottoms, who's the head of what's called the Office of Public Engagement, will lead that delegation. She's the former mayor of Atlanta and has been a senior aide to the president now for the past year. Mitch Landrieu, former mayor of New Orleans, somebody who has spoken out quite frequently on civil rights issues and now heads the Infrastructure Coordination Office. He'll be on that trip. And then 2 other officials, Tara Murray, who's a special assistant in the Office of Public Engagement, and Erica Lowe, who's head of African American media here at the White House. So a sign that they are obviously keeping focused on this issue during the week. President can't go, of course, because he has his meeting with the Speaker on Wednesday, but telling that they're willing to send a handful of officials, at least in his absence.
And Scott, I want to turn back to you because as we heard there in that exchange with Ed, of course, the president calling on Congress to act, which he has done before. But realistically, what are the chances this Congress takes up police reform?
Yeah, they couldn't make the equation work 2 years ago or last year after George Floyd's death. And the political formula has only become more complicated with Congress now divided. This Monday evening this new Senate week began with Dick Durbin saying he's bringing the 4 players in the Senate back together for talks. The 2 Republicans from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott, Cory Booker and Durbin himself. But Durbin said something particularly striking on the Senate floor Monday evening. He said what they were talking about in terms of reforms, trying to reduce or ban chokeholds, trying to maybe cut federal funding for some police departments who don't initiate change. He said it was both really close to happening, but also not nearly enough. And that's not the type of language that is really a bridge towards a new solution. If you're both minimizing what you talked about before, but also saying you couldn't put the coalition together to get it done.
And of course, we know another big issue and a big talker on Capitol Hill is this issue of the debt limit and raising the debt ceiling, as Ed alluded to. We know that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy will be meeting with President Biden later this week. Let's take a listen to what he told our Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation about that sit down that he anticipates.
Well, we're going to meet this Wednesday. I know the president said he didn't want to have any discussions, but I think it's very important that our whole government is designed to find compromise. I want to find a reasonable and a responsible way that we can lift the debt ceiling but take control of this runaway spending.
So he says he wants this to be reasonable, but what more do we know about the offer that the Speaker wants to put on the table?
We know they're going to have a conversation Wednesday. It's just far from clear they're speaking the same language. I mean, the White House has not yielded, and it's been unequivocal that they're not going to negotiate over the debt ceiling, characterizing it as too dangerous. Kevin McCarthy spoke about spending cuts he says need to be enacted. We've talked to members of the Freedom Caucus over the past week. You and I both have. I'll go back to what Andy Harris said of Maryland, that there are not Republican votes, not even close, for a clean debt ceiling increase. So some coalition, some cobbling together of Democratic votes and Republican votes would be needed for the president to get his way on this. So I'm not sure the trajectory of this conversation Wednesday.
And then, Ed, going back to you, I mean, obviously the White House for weeks now, it seems, has said that they don't intend to negotiate. So what has changed here in terms of the president sitting down with Speaker McCarthy this week?
I mean, nothing has changed publicly, at least in their calculations on this. When he was asked, when he got back here a little while ago, as he worked the rope line of reporters, what would your message be, or what's your plan for your meeting with Speaker McCarthy? All he kept saying over and over again was, show me your budget, I'll show you mine. Which is to say, if you are serious about talking about potential cuts, show us where you'd make them. When we know many Republicans who said don't touch Social Security and Medicare, and he effectively said that yesterday. And when both Democrats and Republicans are on record saying you can't go after the spending of the Defense Department and general defense matters because that could put national security at risk. And there again, the Speaker said, yeah, you're probably right. Let's just make sure it's more efficient and effective. So what else is there? And I think that's what the White House is looking to see him signal in that meeting with the president. But remember, this isn't just considered over here, at least, as a meeting about the debt limit. It's arguably a better get-to-know-you conversation for two guys who've been in rooms together but have never really had to engage directly as the two principals in a negotiation. And based on recent events across the country, this White House at least would argue there are more than just the debt limit worth discussing with the head of the Republican conference. Perhaps it's police reform. Perhaps it's the ongoing military operations in aid to Ukraine. Perhaps it's somewhere else that the White House and Republicans can find bipartisan agreement to work on something. And so expect that this will be a meeting that, allows them to do that. We'll see who else is in the room, and we'll see how long it goes. But these two need to get to know each other better and need to find a way forward, since especially even Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has signaled the first two people who need to talk about the debt limit are these guys, and nothing else happens until they do.
All right. Well, we'll see where things go after this. Appreciate it very much. Ed O'Keefe joining us from the White House, and my congressional colleague, Scott MacFarlane. Thanks for being here.